Good morning. Welcome to our Terrific Tuesday, a Tuesday full of learnings and lots of love and light. Let's start our morning with the Power of Dreams programming. All right, let's welcome each other now for this beautiful morning. So, we've been reading about the scanner's work and how many things get started but don't get finished. One good advice that came yesterday was to wrap that up, everything possible with that particular dream or that endeavor in brown paper with the idea why it began and why it stopped. We also spoke about putting them on a bookshelf called the life bookshelf or whatever you want to do so that tomorrow you might just pick up that idea. But let's understand that while we are at what we are doing, what about the other people who are coming in the middle or who are just nudging us, who are telling us things? So let's read about that in this caption called Just a Minute. What about those pesky bosses and teachers? Ruchi, let's start.
Right about now, you might be saying it's all very well to follow your heart, but you get paid graded not on what you think is finished, but on what the boss teacher thinks is finished. And you're right. Even if you feel you have excellent personal reasons for wanting to stop, you still must be able to finish a project sometimes without feeling like you are in prison. In the first place, you will be called on to finish projects no matter who you are. From finishing repairs on your screen door to finishing a term paper or a project at work, that's real life. Your natural tendency will be to tap into self discipline and force yourself to tough it out. But that can create too much unhappiness in a scanner, and unhappiness isn't good for you. It's wiser to find a method that's right for you. And I have some ideas that might help. Second, knowing how to finish what you start. Even if you're a dedicated scanner and don't intend to do it very often, is a great confidence builder and one of the best tools in your kit. It gives you the freedom to choose what you want to do. If you choose to drop something you're doing, that's okay. But if you can't finish a project, that can create problems. But what if that bad feeling is waiting for you as it always does? Won't it stop you again? Maybe not. Now that you have named that feeling, you will find it lost much of its power. You won't want to claw your way out the window every time you are stuck with an uninteresting job to do. But it still won't be fun. What will you do about the tedium? If beginnings are a source of delight to you, sticking with something when the delight is gone is like waiting for a mechanic because your car broke down in the middle of nowhere and the other passenger is someone you don't want to talk to. If there is no way out, you would better pull out your deck of cards and start telling jokes until help comes. The
Let's
name of
understand. All of us are stalling our projects. We were excited in the beginning and we buy this, we buy that, or we prep up and we're like fully ready with the energy, and then we start also. But immediately after a while, we stop, or maybe in the middle, we stop, or maybe a little later towards the end, we stop. Why? Because now the excitement which we wanted is no longer there. The zest is no longer there. Boredom is coming in. Maybe there's no company, maybe there's no motivation, maybe there's no inspiration. Now, when boredom comes, let's understand how do we nurture it into a way that we become excited. So let's go for it.
The name of that someone is boredom. Boredom is the mind's way of rejecting anything that lacks nutrients. It's unpleasant for everyone, but it's hell on earth for scanners. Boredom needs to be tackled. You need to learn its moves and develop your own. Here are some strategies to keep you involved in a project even when the best part has gone.
So now we're going to learn few tricks how all of us can be on our moment, be on that list which we have calling the scanners list, and we're shelving it. Let's understand how do we do that. So first is
The board scanner's bag of tricks. First, eat your vegetables first, but remember that dessert is coming. When you are stuck with a dreary task, use tempting new projects as a reward for finishing uninteresting ones. That way, digging through the dull project has an exciting purpose.
so did we understand? Now कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है हमारी जर्नी में जो हमें मजा नहीं आ रहा. So हमें क्या करना है? पैरेलली नया प्रोजेक्ट जिसमें मजा आ रहा है वो शुरू कर देना है, सो दैट हम इसकी ड्रजरी उस पर नहीं ले जाए, एंड दैट वे मे बी इसमें एक्साइटमेंट बाद में आ जाए. तो उससे क्या होगा? द एक्साइटमेंट लेवल हैज गॉन अप एंड द डल फीलिंग हैज गॉन डाउन. नेक्स्ट इज ब्रिंग इन अ बडी.
I go through many rewrites when I'm doing a new book. And when I run into a tough stretch, I toss it back and forth with my proofreader, editor like a hot potato. Nothing eases the pressure like knowing you can send an incomplete version to a friendly reader and get it back loaded with comments and edits. Keep track of
1 second. So accountability partner, we talked about this even before. कुछ भी नया take up करते हैं, somebody who shares your joy, somebody who shares your bit. Very, very important to do that. Once we do that, life really changes. Number 3, keep track of how far you've gotten.
It's important to know how far you have gotten and how far you have to go, or your task feels like it stretches to the horizon. Decide in advance what marker will indicate that you have only got 75%, 50%, or 25% left to do.
So again, the minute we have accountability partner, we also have something called deadlines and goals. Now it's very important to see where are we heading. Is there someone who's gauging our progress? Someone, or are we doing it? Well, until we do that, we will never take our ship off our rocket off the launch pad. Very important to keep a track of this also. Number 4, invent a fantasy to make it more interesting. Sometimes daydreaming, sometimes thinking of something which is very fascinating can also intrigue us, inspire us, take us places. Let's go with this.
Sometimes you can bring a new approach to the same task. Experimentation is always interesting. Pretend you're going to teach it in a class tomorrow to people who know nothing about it and will adore every word you say. Or pretend it's a precious thing you must finish before the aliens arrive from outer space and snatch it away for their evil purposes.
जो भी आपको fantasy wild करनी है, whatever you want to do, the idea is to make yourself more interested in what you're doing. So हम ख्याली पुलाव तो बहुत बनाते हैं. So make something which makes you interested. Next is taking notes on overheard dialogue. What does this mean? This means very simply that all of us right now in a world where our atmosphere sometimes becomes boring, which is why we are not being able to go further. So let's read this to understand this a bit more.
The more boring your environment is, the more usable it will be for that novel or screenplay or poem or anthropology paper or reality show you have always wanted to write. Observing banalities gives you the distance you need to avoid feeling oppressed. If you are gathering dialogue, banalities can be quite entertaining.
So very simply, whoever's saying around, we can write that down. We can write whatever's coming in our mind. Sometimes we away from the script, sometimes that new structures helping us make the script a little better. So if we start observing banalities, it will give you us the right adequate distance, and we will feel कि हमें कोई दबा नहीं रहा, We are able to generate stuff on our own. We are not stuck. We are open and receptive to growing. And then the most important thing is working in short sprints.
Use your kitchen timer and work on your project for 15 minutes at a time. Or give yourself 30 minutes to work on it today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Make a deal with yourself and stick with it until you're finished.
Now, why do they do this? Because sometimes in lesser time, you're more lucrative. In longer periods of time, you're whiling away your time and wasting your good time in doing absolutely nothing and just going out off track. But if you say that I only have this much time, you will pack in a punch because come time to productivity zyada nikalti hai. And then, of course, the word of advice is coming to us that we should keep looking for more tricks and keep sharing with people. Suppose if somebody's been working on some project, keep sharing it. Remember, you're not required to finish everything you start, but you are required to know how. You'll need that knowledge one of these days when you find something that's really worth finishing. Until then, and even after that time, never forget to appreciate your love of beginnings and the joy that brings you. So that's it. We just have to understand this particular fact about us. If we're ready for it, everything can change. The idea is to start and not just keep pondering over it. Now, the next section is, and that's it. But what about everything you've done? So, can you turn the page, please? Yes, Ruchi, let's read it.
But what about everything you have been taught about buckling down, disciplining yourself, doing something with your life? If you let good feelings and bad feelings make your decisions, that's nothing but self indulgence, isn't it? To accomplish anything important, people have to ignore their feelings and stay single minded and purposeful, don't they? Let me answer you with a look into the mind of a very successful researcher and author. Here's a quote from Jamie Shreve's review of Monkey Love by Robert M. Sapolsky in the New York Times Book Review. Robert M. Sapolsky, a neurologist and primatologist at Stanford University, writes essays in his latest book based on what he describes as hit and run obsessions, topics that infect his mind for a couple of months, causing him to research endlessly and drive his poor wife to distraction with monologues on the subject until he eventually writes the obsession out of his system, leaving room for the next one. Dr. Sapolsky obsessions are just one example of all the scanner behavior that you and those around you have deplored for so long. I could give you many other examples, and I do on my bulletin board at. You will find that your troublesome behavior is shared by some very clever and accomplished people. If you have reached the conclusion that you should give up your attempts to conform to the norm and you're ready to get the most of your curious mind and your many talents, it's time to take a new direction. Instead of changing yourself as you once wanted to, you're going to change your surroundings. You need to roll up your sleeves and direct your energies toward creating an environment for yourself that will support you exactly as you are. Which brings us to part two of this book.
So let's understand. The part one of the book gets over today and part two starts tomorrow. What have we learned so far is that all of us who are scanners jump from one thing to another, not deciding which one to choose. But here, the best thing is we're not being asked to choose. We are being nudged towards experimenting. And we're saying, even if one experiment fails, two fails, three fails, it's all right. Keep the failed experiments also with you, because tomorrow you might want to pick up on those ideas. Sometimes an idea is brilliant. It comes to you for a purpose, but it doesn't have time to get resolved now or to get complete now, but later it might solve its purpose. So not to trash the ideas, but keep the ideas consolidated in a place which you think will grow into something big. Either you keep them as post-its as a reminder, or you make a list on your that shelf or the mirror that you have. This is my idea. This is how it is. Maybe tomorrow it will work. The idea is not to discard any ideas. The idea is to get intrigued, to get challenged, to have a curious mind, to be in the moment where you know that I am talented and I am thinking of something, and let me give myself a huge boost and let me not go with what people are saying. Ultimately, it's my energy, and all I have to do is roll up my sleeves and work towards it. Nobody else can hinder, nobody else can come there. Now, what comes next? Let's read about it.
To arrange your life so it can support your remarkable potential, you need to do some more learning about who you are. You have gotten a good start in these past chapters, but in order to gear up so you're ready to do everything you're capable of, you must look more closely at your unique style, your particular problems, and your specific needs. Scanners are not all alike, as you shall see.
So the best part is scanners be same nahi hote. There are lots of types of scanners in life. Now, which kind of scanner are we? We'll go about it in the part 2 of the book tomorrow. But till now, like Shivani sent me a message that she says, I'm 100% scanner. I've discovered in part 1 of the book. So more power to her and to everyone discovering कि हम बहुत fidgety हैं, बहुत fickle minded हैं. It's all right. That's not a disadvantage, it's an advantage. People haven't seen us like that right now, but this is who we are. So I know it's just about 20 minutes since we've begun the session, but let's just go for a sun salutation and we can have a longer day with letting go. So let's start our program.
The Surya Namaskar with mantras. Om Mitraye Namaha. Om Ravaye Namaha. Om Suryaye Namaha. Om Bhanave Namaha. Om Khagaye Namaha. Om Pushne Namaha. Om Hiranyagarbhaye Namaha. Om Marichaye Namaha. Om Adityaye Namaha. Om Savitre Namaha. Om Arkaye Namaha. Om Bhaskaraye Namaha. Salutations to the universal friend. Salutations to the resplendent sun. Salutations to the energy that induces activity within us. Salutations to the one who illumines. Salutations to the sun moving across the sky. Salutations to the giver of strength. Salutations to the golden cosmic self. Salutations to the Lord of the dawn. Salutations to the son of Aditi, the cosmic mother. Salutations to the benevolent mother. Salutations to the energy that we praise and to the one who guides us to salvation. The sun salutation now with the names of the postures both in Sanskrit and English. Pranamasan, Hastuthanasan, Madhastasan, left leg back Ashwasanchalanasan, Parvatasan, and hold this position and now slowly progressing into the deeper version of Parvatasan, Adho Mukh Shvanasan. Ashtang Namaskar, Bhujangasan, Parvatasan, left forward Ashwasanchalanasan, Padahastasan, Hastuthanasan, Pranamasan. On the right side, prayer position, raised arms pose, hand to feet pose, right leg back equestrian pose, mountain pose, hold mountain pose, and slowly moving into the deeper version of mountain, the downward facing dog. Salute with 8 limbs. Cobra. Press back to mountain. Right forward equestrian pose. Hand to feet pose. Raised arms position. Prayer pose. One round of the sun salutation with Awareness on the breathing. So exhaling our hands to the chest, pranam. Inhaling as we bend back. We exhale as we fold forward. Left leg back, inhale as we're arching back. Exhale into the forward. Hold the breath for knees, chest, chin. Inhale as we arch back. Exhale into the forward. Left leg forward, inhale. This is a back bend. Exhale whenever we bend forward. Inhale as we bend back. Exhale, hands to the chest. And on the right, deep breathing. Exhale. A deep inhale. A long exhale. Right leg back with an inhale. And exhale. Hold the breath. Inhale. And exhale. Right leg forward with a deep inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale.
All right. So we have been doing our studies for the anatomy of emotions for the last 2 days. And we've also spoken time and again that all of us are emotional beings. Our emotions are the reason why things happen. What we feel from the heart is what actually manifests. Mind can play games, thoughts can come, but if we change the emotion, the thoughts can be changed very, very easily. Now, whenever we have an emotional crisis, then all the good learning that we've gone through tends to fade away because that time we're unable to handle. Now, let's understand how should we handle our emotional crisis. Yes, Ruchi, let's read for everyone.
Because this is a very difficult problem for most people, some details are needed. There are several techniques to help move through emotional disaster much more quickly with a better end result than allowing it to run out on its own. Recall the usual mechanisms that the mind consciously uses to handle emotions, which are suppression or repression, expression, and escape. These are
So these are very, very important to understand. जो कुछ भी हमारे साथ होता है, whatever we are reacting or responding, it's because we are suppressing ourselves in the younger days or before times. हमने अपने इमोशंस को उस समय निकलने नहीं दिया, वो सप्रेस हो जाते हैं या वो रिप्रेस हो जाते हैं, तो वो बाद तक हमें परेशान करते हैं, चाहे हम रियलाइज करें चाहे हम नहीं करें, या हम उसको एक्सप्रेस कर लेते हैं या हम उससे दूर भागते हैं कि नहीं, मुझे तो इसको फील ही नहीं करना, अगेन सप्रेस करें और दूर भाग रहे हैं. That is why our entire operation of our human body anatomy functions because of emotions triggering off from these four places. Now, these are very, very important to understand that if we tap these, we'll be able to live our life very beautifully. So let's continue.
These are deleterious only when they are used without conscious intent. In an overwhelm, it is often advisable to utilize them, but doing so consciously. The purpose of this maneuver is to reduce the sheer overwhelming quantity of the emotion itself so that it can be disassembled and let go of in bits and pieces. This process is described below. Thus, in this case, it is all right consciously to push away as much of the emotion as which we are capable at the moment. The emotion can be reduced in intensity by sharing the feeling with close friends or mentors. By merely expressing the feeling, some of the energy behind it is reduced. It is also all right in this circumstance consciously to utilize escape mechanisms, such as going out in a social situation to get some distance from the upset, playing with the dog, watching television, going to the movies, playing music, making love, or whatever one's habit is under the circumstances. When the feeling has been reduced in its sheer quantity and intensity, it is best to start letting go of small aspects of the situation rather than the overall situation and the accompanying emotion itself.
So let's understand. all of us we go through emotions. अभी पता है that रोने का बहुत ज्यादा मन कर रहा है, पहली बात तो रो लो. सेकंड चीज, अगर वो बंद नहीं हो रहा रोना आफ्टर क्राइंग अ लॉट एंड यू फीलिंग मिजरेबल, चेंज ऑफ सीन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्योंकि अगर आप उस समय अपने आप को बोलो कि बस बस हो गया, बहुत नहीं, अब नहीं और रोना, अब नहीं और रोना, इट डजंट वर्क. सो इसके लिए यू नीड अ चेंज ऑफ सीन. नाउ द चेंज ऑफ सीन कुड बी एनीथिंग डिस्क्राइब बिलो अबव. मेंटर से बात करना, क्लोज फ्रेंड से कन्फाइड करना, कहीं बाहर चले जाना, पार्क में वॉक कर लेना, हगिंग अ ट्री, anything in mother nature, anything that you love to do, maybe it's going to help you. So one thing is switch words की power आपको दी गई है, you have been given that. Switch moods है, and you just have to change a just a paradigm change. उस समय किस atmosphere में, किस माहौल में है, you need that change. Once you address it, okay, once you're back, intensity कम हो जाती है आपकी feeling bad की. उस समय you break that. Why am I feeling bad? Understand yourself. The three questions that we understood, ask yourself those three questions, break it, and slowly start letting go. Let's understand this further.
To illustrate this point, let's take the example of a man who loses his job after many years with a company and is now in an overwhelm of despair. But utilizing the three mechanisms already described, some of the emotion can be reduced. What he can look at then are some of the small trivia about the job. For instance, could he let go of wanting to have lunch where he always had lunch with his business colleagues? Could he let go of wanting to park his car in the parking space he always had in the past? Could he let go of wanting to ride up in the same elevator? Could he let go of the attachment to his desk? Could he let go of the attachment to the secretary and a friendliness toward him? Could he let go of the attachment to his computer? Could he let go of seeing the same boss every day? Could he let go of his feeling of familiarity with the background noises in the offices? The purpose of surrendering these smaller aspects of losing a job, which may seem trivial, is that it gets the mind into the letting go mode. The letting go mode takes us up to the level of courage. The negative feelings have been acknowledged and worked through. Consequently, they have lost their charge. Suddenly, there is the awareness that we have the courage to face the situation, recognize our feelings, and do something about them. As the trivia are surrendered, curiously, the main event becomes less and less oppressive. The reason for the phenomena is that when we use the mechanism of surrender on one emotion, we are surrendering on all emotions at the same time. It is as though all emotions have the same underlying energy, so that to surrender in one direction surrenders feelings which appear on the surface to be in an opposite direction. This is a matter of clinical experience. It must be tried personally in order to believe it. After utilizing the above four methods, suppression, expression, escape, surrender of small aspects, a fifth now becomes apparent. Every strong emotion is really a composite of a number of subsidiary emotions, and the total emotional complex can be disassembled.
All right. So total emotional complex क्या हुआ? एक बड़ी सारा full चीज को surrender, let go करना is going to be tougher because it comes with a full package deal. There are 20,000 things in the middle of it. अब एक job की बात करें, उसमें every small little thing has emotions attached. एक कप ऑफ कैपुचिनो भी आ रहा है अगर हमारे ऑफिस में, कौन ला रहा है, क्या बात कर रहा है, everything is attached. But if we break that down, can I let go of this? Yeah. Can I let go of this? No. At least we are in clarity, a picture of what all we're letting go. At least half को तो let go करें. Imagine करें अपने सर की, हमने हमारे शोल्डर पे हमने 10 किलो का बैकपैक ले रखा है versus 5 किलो का बैकपैक ले रखा है. 5 kilos will make us feel lighter on the shoulder, will make us feel more comfortable. So letting go पूरा का पूरा अगर नहीं भी drop कर पा रहे, so we break that. What is it that I can surrender? Which part is it that I can surrender? And at least start letting go. Total complex emotional picture को लेने की जगह divide into a couple of facets and then keep disassembling them and then keep dropping them. Now we'll go for another example.
Thus, for instance, the man who has lost his job initially has an overwhelming feeling of despair. But as he begins to surrender around the periphery and as he diminishes his overwhelm through consciously Utilizing escape, suppression, and expression, he now realizes that there is also anger. He sees that the anger is associated with pride. There is a lot of anger in the form of resentment. There is a self invalidation, which is a form of anger expressed against himself. There is also considerable fear. Thus, these associated emotions can now be addressed directly. For instance, he can start letting go of the fear that he won't find another job. When that fear is acknowledged and let go, all the alternate possibilities that exist will become suddenly apparent to him. And as he surrenders pride, he will quickly see that he is not faced with economic disaster as he had thought. Thus, as the disassembled emotional complex is taken apart into its component parts, each component part now has less energy and can be surrendered individually.
So again, he broke the entire structure down. And now he's trying to understand why can't he let go of the job? What is there for him? Is it emotional stability? Is it financial stability? Is it the ego? Is it the pride? 99% of the times there is anger associated with something where we want to let go. We are unable to do it. There's resentment. ये क्यों नहीं हुआ मेरे साथ? अब मुझे क्यों छोड़ना पड़ रहा है? मैंने तो ड्रीम किया था कि ऐसे रहे. This is something which we can't accept. जो हम accept नहीं कर पाते, उसको let go करने में problem पड़ती है. अगर हम accept कर लेते हैं, this is the way life is and all ups and downs come, and this is also come to teach me something. It's going to be a different paradigm for me. And तब मैं देखूंगा कि मैं क्या gain कर रहा हूँ इसको let go करने में. Always look at the brighter side कि कभी कुछ wrong life में अगर होता है, क्या सिखाने आया है, क्या बताने आया है. Rather than feeling overwhelmed, उस समय let's try and understand what is the message behind this. The minute we change our energy into receiving more rather than giving more, surrendering or letting go will become very, very, very easily possible for each one of us who's trying to let go. And as I said, wholesome package, we divide that into further angles and then we drop them one by one by one. And it's not about guilt, it's not about fear, it's not about it's just about a very terrible thing which is there in us. I, me, and am. Ego, pride. The entire story goes on. Why is it happening to me? हमने अपने आप को इतनी importance दी हुई है that we can't go beyond ourselves. पहले मैं खुश तो बाकी लोग खुश, which is right. You know, you have to be happy to make others happy. But you have to let go to be comfortable to allow new things to come in your life. अगर मैंने कुछ hold on किया हुआ है, so how can newness come to me? Now I'm going to imagine myself as a glass full. Now this glass full has a lot of rocks and salt and minerals and everything in the glass. If I don't let go of this heavy energy, how will something better flow into this? Now, if I want to have a martini or a cocktail, how will that come into my glass if I don't let go of my old? So yeah, pura mushkil lag raha hai. One by one we drop. At least sometimes the glass becomes empty. If I go with that thing, I'm going to be working on a longer level for my longevity, for my understanding, for my growth. Now, and let's understand furthermore.
As we come out of the overwhelm, it will be remembered that a certain portion of the emotion was purposely suppressed or escaped. It can now be re-examined so that it no longer does residual harm, such as ending up in bitterness, unconscious guilt, or lower self-esteem. Fragments of the emotional complex may recur for a period of time, even years. However, because they are now small fragments, each can be handled as it arises. At least the crisis situation will have been passed through safely and consciously. Handling a crisis from the emotional rather than the intellectual level will shorten its duration dramatically. In the case of someone who loses a job, handling it from the intellectual level will produce thousands of thoughts and hypothetical scenarios. The person suffers through many sleepless nights due to the racing thoughts about the situation as the mind reviews it over and over again. All of this is fruitless. Until the underlying emotion is surrendered, the thoughts will be engendered endlessly. We all know of people who have had an emotional crisis many years ago and to this day have not recovered.
क्या होता है? Why does this happen? कुछ पास्ट में हुआ है उसको आज भी हम मान लो वो कर रहे हैं. ऐसा हो जाता तो हम इसको अवॉइड कर लेते, ये हो जाता तो ऐसा हो जाता. जो हो गया सो हो गया, आपके और मेरे बस की बात तो नहीं है ना। हम उसकी वजह से अपने आप को आज भी परेशान कर रहे हैं, स्लीपलेस नाइट्स हो रही है, या हम सोचते जा रहे हैं, हम बात करे जा रहे हैं। व्हाट इज द पॉइंट? इट इज एब्सोल्युटली फ्रूटलेस। लेकिन अगर जब तक हम लेट गो नहीं करेंगे, समझेंगे नहीं कि मुझे ये फीलिंग क्यों आ रही है, और उसको सरेंडर नहीं करेंगे, तब तक हम हील नहीं हो पाएंगे, अपने आप को रिकवर नहीं कर पाएंगे। एंड सालों दर सालों लग जाएंगे हमको उस बात से बाहर निकलने के लिए। क्यों? बिकॉज इट्स ट्रबलिंग अस। नाउ इट्स ट्रबलिंग अस, वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द अंडरलाइंग रीजन। अंडरलाइंग रीजन के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा हमें? अपने आप से इंट्रोस्पेक्शन, अपने आप से सवाल, अपने आप से उसकी फाइंडिंग्स, पॉसिबिलिटीज, आंसर्स, that we know where are we heading for. Yes, let's continue.
It has totally colored their life, and they have paid a big price for the lack of know-how in handling the underlying emotions. There are numerous benefits to handling a life crisis successfully. For one thing, the amount of suppressed or repressed emotion is now much less. The crisis has forced it up to be relinquished, and therefore the amount that is left in the reservoir is much less. There is a greater feeling of self-esteem and confidence because there is the awareness that one can survive and handle whatever life will bring. There is an overall reduction of the fear of life, a greater feeling of mastery, greater compassion for the suffering of others, and an increased ability to help them through similar circumstances. Paradoxically, after a life crisis, there often is a period of variable duration of peace and calmness, sometimes approaching the level of mystical experience. The dark night of the soul frequently precedes state of heightened awareness.
The dark night of the soul frequently precedes states of heightened awareness. जब हम अवेयर हो जाते हैं, pretty high awareness हो जाती है, we understand why did we have that low point in our life. जब तक लो पॉइंट इन लाइफ नहीं आएगा, तब तक हमारी हाइटेंड अवेयरनेस नहीं आएगी। बहुत बार हमें चीजों की वैल्यू होती है आफ्टर हैविंग लॉस्ट देम। इसीलिए इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू हैव दैट लॉस टू अंडरस्टैंड वेयर एम आई लीडिंग। Now, in this life of ours, there will be a lot of people who will play. For example, I'm playing a game of chess. I'm playing it alone, fine. But in that, there are so many pieces and there's so many angles. Somebody will come and challenge me. Somebody will come and remind me. Somebody will come and abuse me. Somebody will make me feel guilty. Somebody will make me feel scared. They will all play their role in their life. Now, what we have to understand is that life becomes a crisis when we are unable to accept the others around us, when we are just judging them, when we are putting them and we're making ourselves the victims. कि मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ because of that. That is when all of this problem comes. That is when the peace and the calm will not come because we don't have ownership. Now, Meenakshi, your question is relevant. What about the people around us who pin us or remind us of the past? How do you deal with them? Now, please rephrase this question. Why have you attracted those people around you to pin you and remind you of the past? How should you deal with your emotions? हमने सब कुछ अपनी लाइफ में अट्रैक्ट किया है। अगर वो इंसान आपको आके पास्ट के बारे में रिमाइंड कर रहा है, बात कर रहा है, it's because you have wanted to learn something out of it and you haven't learned. So ask yourself, मुझे रिमाइंड कर रहा है, मुझे क्या सीखना बाकी है जो ये वापस रिमाइंड कर रहा है? बिकॉज उस लेसन से हमने कुछ नहीं सीखा है जिससे हम आगे बढ़ गए। सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू गो बैक एंड टू स्टॉप द ब्लेम गेम एंड से ओके, आई हैव अट्रैक्टेड दिस सिचुएशन, व्हाई हैव आई अट्रैक्टेड, व्हाट इज इट दैट आई हैव टू लर्न। Always become a seeker, always become an analyzer, always question yourself. It is not about others. And Meenakshi and everyone here, once we change, once we make an effort to change ourselves, the world around us changes. Whatever we see in people is our own reflection. Nobody is bad, nobody is good. But if you see bad because there's some part of you which is bad and you need to add the goodness in it by giving it love. And if you see the goodness in people, it's because that's what you're resonating at. So now let's understand with a couple of more examples. All right.
One of the best known example of this paradox is illustrated by persons who have had near-death experiences. There are now many books on the subject that reveal a certain commonality. Once the worst of all possible fears, the dread and shock of death, has been faced, it is superseded by a profound sense of serenity, peace, oneness, and immunity from fear. Many such persons develop extraordinary abilities, become healers, develop psychic awareness, and advanced states of spiritual illumination. They experience major leaps in growth and the sudden appearance of new talents and capacities. Thus, every life crisis carries within it the kernels of a reversal, a renewal, an expansion, a leap in consciousness, and a letting go of the old and a birth of the new.
So let's stay at this. Now, every experience that we are experiencing in life, उसमें growth भी आएगी, downfall भी आएगा. But जब growth आएगी, what's going to happen? Growth के समय नए ideas आएंगे, नए challenges आएंगे, नई capacity निकल के आएगी कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं. इसमें भी अगर आप देखें, people who have had near-death experiences, that means it is important in life to value something in life. You have to be told about the value. उसके लिए knocks and shocks, twists and turns life में आएंगे ही आएंगे. So अगर हमारी life में challenging लोग आ रहे हैं, वो challenging us, who bring out the worst in us, please understand, they're not bringing out the worst in you. You have conditioned your mind that this person brings out the worst in me. Tell yourself, why is it that I allow the person to affect me so much? It's very important to accept that bit. It's very important to accept that we are all here for a reason. जब तक हमें oneness feel नहीं होगी, तब तक हम आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे. And of course, now they talked about people who've had near-death experiences, कि वो spiritual journey में कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच जाते हैं. Fabulous, more power to them. But what is the underlying reason in this is every life crisis carries within us, within it, the kernels of a reversal. कुछ भी होता है वो वापस अंडू हो सकता है, रिन्यू हो सकता है, एक्सपैंड कर सकता है, अवेयरनेस ज्यादा आ सकती है, एंड यू कैन लेट गो ऑफ द पास्ट एंड बिल्ड द न्यू. टू बिल्ड द न्यू यू हैव टू लेट गो ऑफ द पास्ट. अगर आपने पास्ट को बहुत टाइटली होल्ड करा हुआ है, आप फ्यूचर की तरफ कैसे जाओगे? इमेजिन करो आपकी गाड़ी के सामने एक बहुत बड़ा सा पत्थर रखा हुआ है एंड वो आपकी गाड़ी को आगे बढ़ने नहीं दे रहा है. जो पत्थर है रिप्रेजेंट्स योर attachment to something which is in your past. जब तक वो पत्थर हटाएंगे नहीं, लेट गो नहीं करेंगे, रिमूव नहीं करेंगे इस पत्थर को, तब तक गाड़ी आगे कैसे बढ़ेगी? अगर आपको बर्थ लेना है दोबारा से, so you have to let go of the past. You have to develop yourself. इसके लिए क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है? हमको अपने पुराने लाइफ से हीलिंग चाहिए. प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है? सप्रेशन, रिप्रेशन, एक्सप्रेशन या एस्केपिज्म से हम हील नहीं हो पाते. Now comes the next part in this particular particular book. It's called Healing the Past. Now, अपनी लाइफ को बहुत ध्यान से देखते हैं and let's understand कि क्या क्या क्राइसिस हमारे साथ है जो आज तक अनरिजॉल्व्ड है. जब तक हमें उसकी अंडरलाइंग फीलिंग नहीं मालूम पड़ेगी, वो रिपीट पैटर्न में चलता ही रहेगा. So let's take this journey through. Yes, Ruchi.
When we look at our lives, we will see the residual of past life crises which are still unresolved. Thoughts and feelings about the events tend to occur and color our perception, and we will note that they have disabled us in certain areas of life. At that point, it is wise to ask ourselves if it is worth paying the continuing cost. Now that we have some mechanisms by which to handle these residuals, they can be uncovered. The residual feelings can be investigated and let go of so that a healing can take place. This brings us to another emotional healing technique that becomes powerful once the major event has passed. That is to place the event in a different context, to see it from a different perspective, and to hold it in a different paradigm with a different significance and meaning.
ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, दिस EF टेक्निक. नाउ अगर मेरे साथ कुछ हो रहा है और मैं लेट को नहीं कर पा रही हूँ, मुझे क्या करना है? अपनी प्रॉब्लम को दूसरे के नजरिए से देखना है कि ओके, दिस इज प्राची अग्रवाल who's going through this problem, but now this problem is not mine. It's somebody else's. I am guiding him or her a way to go around this problem, to heal himself from the problem. The minute I don't have the ownership of that problem, I anyways realize how much I can let go. प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, हम उसको होल्ड ऑन टाइट कर चुके होते हैं एंड उससे हम हीलिंग नहीं अलाउ करते. Now, the minute I start talking in second tense, for example, Ruchi and Shivani are in front of me, and ये problem मेरी नहीं है. अब मैंने इसकी problem दे दी उन दोनों को कि उनको मैं advise कर रही हूँ. Now, what's going to happen? एकदम से I become powerful. Why? Because now I don't have any attachment to that problem. Now I can advise them what is best. इससे क्या एक नया नजरिया मिलता है, डिफरेंट पैराडाइम मिलता है, डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव मिलता है, उसका नया मीनिंग आता है, उसका नया सिग्निफिकेंस आता है. ओके, हाउ कैन आई डू दिस? And the minute I'm advising my friends or my co-seekers, I realize this advice runs for me. So shall I do them? And that is the most important part when you don't own the problem. When you look at the point of view from somebody else's point of view. So that's what, agar life mein problems, challenges aayenge, think of them, those challenges, as somebody else's, maybe your counterpart, maybe your child, maybe your friend, and then try and look at the perspective that, okay, what is there in this? अभी आधी बार हमें क्या लगता है, मेरी प्रॉब्लम पता ही नहीं आपको, कितना ज्यादा काम है मुझे, कितनी प्रॉब्लम है, you can't even see my bit. So okay, now it's not your bit, it's somebody else's bit, and let's see what you can see in that deeper down version. And then that's when you will realize, oh my God, this is so powerful. And that's when you will heal from it. Anyways, let's continue reading.
It is said that most people spend their lives regretting the past and fearing the future. Therefore, they are unable to experience joy in the present. Many of us have assumed that this is a human fate, our lot, and the best that we can do is grin and bear it. Philosophers have sometimes made hay out of this negativistic, pessimistic approach and developed whole system of nihilism. These philosophers, some of whom have become celebrated over the years, are obviously mere victims of painful emotions that they did not handle and which triggered endless intellectualization and elaboration. Some spend their entire lifetime constructing sophisticated intellectual systems to justify what is glaringly obvious as a simple suppressed emotion.
Now let's understand this. हम सब अपने पास्ट में बहुत जीते हैं. बहुत कम लोग होंगे जो पास्ट के रेफरेंसेस नहीं लाइफ में लाते होंगे. एंड 90% रिग्रेट्स के बारे में बात करते हैं. हाँ, when you're feeling happy, you'll talk about अरे पास्ट में ये हुआ, ये हुआ, ये हुआ. आप बड़े लोग को देखो, when they talk about it, हमारे टाइम पे ऐसा होता था कि इतने अच्छे दिन थे, आज ये प्रॉब्लम है, आज ये प्रॉब्लम है, because they're not living in the present. They have not embraced the present. Time is the only constant, right? अगर हम टाइम के साथ अपने आप को नहीं बदलेंगे तो हम तो पीछे रह जाएंगे, धक्के बन जाएंगे. अगर ह्यूमन फेट हमारा यही है कि पुरानी बातों पे डिवेल्प करना है, ग्रीफ करना है, मॉर्न करना है और उसके बारे में रिग्रेट रखना है, तो हम आगे से कैसे बढ़ेंगे? कल पता नहीं क्या होगा, दुनिया पता नहीं कहाँ जा रही है, एंड जहां भी जा रही है बहुत अच्छी जा रही है. अगर नेगेटिव अप्रोच है, पेसिमिस्टिक एटीट्यूड है, तो हम कैसे बन रहे हैं? वी आर नॉट बिकमिंग इवॉल्व्ड सोल्स एट ऑल. हम तो पास्ट में रह रहे हैं. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू लिव इन द नाउ. बहुत बार आप देखोगे, अगर आप देखना शुरू करोगे अपने माइंडसेट को, आप लोग पास्ट में, हम सब लोग पास्ट में रह रहे हैं. अपने आप को प्रेजेंट में खींच के लाना पड़ता है कि नो, इट्स ऑल अबाउट नाउ, फॉरगेट द फ्यूचर, फॉरगेट द पास्ट. बिकॉज द ट्रूथ इज, जो हो रहा है अभी हो रहा है. कल क्या होगा वी डोंट नो. कल क्या हुआ है वी कांट चेंज. सो व्हाई नॉट लिव इन द पावर ऑफ नाउ? व्हाई नॉट सेलिब्रेट राइट नाउ? Why keep compromising? कि अरे because of this मैं ये नहीं कर पा रहा. आप सीड सो कर रहे हो of unhappiness, आप compromise कर रहे हो, आप painful चीजों से गुजर रहे हो. So try as much as possible to live in the now, and जो अभी करने का opportunity आ रहा है कर लो. कल क्या होगा नहीं पता. Don't spend your life thinking about from logic. Forget it. Let magic come. Let just do, and don't suppress yourself so much. Suppression करने से भी problem आती है. I don't want to say the number of percentage I have because I have no idea about the आंकड़as, but very largely women who are homemakers are all the time suppressing themselves, repressing themselves in the cover of I'm doing it for my family. Your family includes you. Without you, what is your family? So why not give yourself also some advantage? Why not experience joy by doing what you love to do? Why not enjoy that part? Why had this attitude of always compromising? Nazariya badalne ki der hai. That's what we all require. Now, एक बहुत effective tool आ रहा है. Let's understand that tool.
One of the most effective tools for handling the past is the creation of a different context. What this means is that we give it a different meaning. We take on a different attitude about the past difficulty or trauma, and we acknowledge the hidden gift in it. The value of this technique was first recognized in psychiatry by Viktor Frankl. He explained the approach, which he called logotherapy, in his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. His clinical and personal experience demonstrated that emotional events and traumatic occurrences will change considerably and be healed if a new meaning is placed around them. Frank told of his own experience in the Nazi concentration camps, wherein he came to see his physical and psychic suffering as an opportunity to achieve inner triumph. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. Frank recontextualized the horrific circumstances to hold profound meaning for the human spirit.
So what happened with Frankl when he was in the Nazi camp is he was oppressed and suppressed. इन्होंने books लिखी and they were completely burnt and they were all finished. And he began from a scratch, एकदम वापस शुरू करना. And then he realized that उन्होंने जो वापस से scratch करी, it had much more deeper meaning. What did he do? He counted his blessings out of every single atrocity that happened to him. Even burning of his book, he's like, so what? I have a spirit of never die spirit. I will continue and start all over again. हम अपने एटीट्यूड को डिसाइड कर सकते हैं सर्कमस्टेंसेस में कि हमें क्या चूज करना है. हमें ग्रीफ चूज करना है कि हमें ग्रोथ चूज करना है. फ्रैंकल ने रिकंटेक्चुअलाइज किया पूरे अपने बेकार एक्सपीरियंसेस को कि ओ माय गॉड दैट वाज माय यूरेका मोमेंट, दैट वाज माय मोमेंट व्हेन आई गॉट द प्रोफाउंड मीनिंग ऑफ माय लाइफ कि मेरा एग्जिस्टेंस क्यों है. ये बुक लिखने में है एंड द ह्यूमन स्पिरिट कांट बी शेकन इफ यू वांट टू शेक इट. देयर इज वेरी ब्यूटीफुल स्टोरी अबाउट अ लिटिल monk who was like oppressed for 25 years by the Chinese government. And when he came back and he met Dalai Lama, he was also a Lama himself. Now he came to Dalai Lama and people asked him and Dalai asked him, Ki, bhai, how was your experience there? What kind of emotions did you go through? He says, I have only regret for twice in 25 years. I felt bad that I was being tortured by the Chinese. And I could not have karuna for them. I could not have compassion, empathy for them. This is the level of oneness he felt. कि ये जो हो रहा है मेरे साथ, it's happening because I need it. और मैंने उसके लिए किसी और को victim बना दिया या blame कर दिया, अपने आप को victimize कर दिया. Ultimately, all of us need to understand कि life में कुछ भी हो रहा है हमारे आसपास, it's only happening because we need it to happen. और कोई बदतमीजी भी कर रहा है हमारे साथ, कोई उसमें लर्निंग है. So very important to find the profound hidden meaning, the blessing in disguise. When we convert ourselves into this particular juncture, क्या सीखा इससे मैंने? That is when the hidden lesson comes out. अगर नहीं सीखा रहे ये हो गया वो हो गया, you just talking about it, expanding it, then what's going to happen? वैसे बहुत सिचुएशंस और आएंगी या वो पैटर्न फिर रिपीट होगा क्योंकि आपने अपने आप को हीलिंग का परमिशन ही नहीं दी. So very, very important to understand, no matter how tragic, whatever happened, tragedy happens, kuch na kuch uske andar there's a hidden lesson. And when we discover and acknowledge the hidden gift which is there, a healing takes place. Oh, I had to go through this because I had to learn this. Oh, because I'm blessed with this. Now that is important. इसलिए कभी भी emotional crisis आएगा, please center balance, align yourself, please take a deep breath thrice, and please ask yourself, why am I going through this ordeal? Or why am I going through this tragedy? Or what has happened here? What is there for me to seek and learn? Remember, the more questions you ask yourself, the more answers you will get. There is no need for us. I'm not saying gurus are bad, teachers are bad. No, there's no harm. But a guru or a teacher will only know to his or her consciousness level. Your higher self will guide you much more than any outer person can, because your journey is your soul's calling, and your soul knows the answer no other soul knows, though there's oneness. Some people might give you a resonating answer, but it's at times, by largely, it's you who gets the answers. Ruchi, let's continue.
Every life experience, no matter how tragic, contains a hidden lesson. When we discover and acknowledge the hidden gift that is there, a healing takes place. In the example of the man who lost his job after some time had passed, he looked back and saw that his former job was stunting, that he had been in a rut. Frankly, the job had given him an ulcer. Prior to losing the job, he had seen only the pleasures from it. Once outside of the situation, he began to see the costs that he had been paying physically, mentally, and emotionally. After losing the job, he was open to discovering new abilities and new talents. In fact, he began a new, more promising career. So, life events are opportunities to grow, expand, experience, and develop. In some cases, it seems in retrospect that there were actually this unconsciousness purpose behind the event, as though our unconsciousness knew that something important had to be learned. And painful as it was the only way it could be brought into experience. This is a part of psychology of the psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who concluded after a lifetime of study that there is an inborn drive in the unconscious toward wholeness, completeness, and realization of the self, and that the unconscious will devise the ways and means of bringing this about, even if they are traumatic to the conscious mind.
Did you read the fine line behind it? That जो कुछ भी हो रहा है unconscious level पे हो रहा है, it's invited in your life so that you can experience something and you can understand what is there for me to feel one, whole, complete, and be conscious that ये हुआ है for a reason. No matter how traumatic, no matter how much grief it gives you, there's always underlying lesson. And that lesson only you and I can find. Today we'll close at this, and tomorrow we'll start from Jung also. We'll even go for another analogy study, because this is a very important chapter which shows us how we can handle ourselves in our situation in our life. And it's not so tough. हमको लगता है कि बहुत मुश्किल है लाइफ जीना, लाइफ में बहुत challenges आते हैं, challenges आते हैं for us to grow in life. So very important to take that. Now we will read from creative thinking. Akshay or anybody, if he wants to read, you can raise your hand. Thank you, Ruchi, for reading so beautifully for all of us. Today, the chapter is very important. It's, again, this book is designed in a fashion where you will be challenged to think something beyond the ordinary. Now, very important to understand that what are we learning out of it? हम क्या decipher कर रहे हैं? What is our perspective? So very important. Let's read it. Chapter which is named Take What You Need. Let's read it.
A student at Stanford University discovered the short stories of John Cheever. He decided to type them out word for word, page for page. He stepped into Cheever's shoes and felt what it was like to have written them. Rather like Da Vinci dissecting a heart to try to understand how it worked, the student was trying to get inside Cheever's mind. He went on to become the prolific fiction writer Ethan Kennan. There have been 4 Hollywood films based on his stories.
So,
It's
okay, let's just
interesting.
study about this. Now, Cheever, what we are understanding is we're going to get into Cheever's shoes. Who's Cheever? Cheever is a person who writes short stories, okay? And he's writing them, and he's a student of one of the most famous Stanford universities. Now, Cheever is not looking at dissecting a heart like Da Vinci, but what he's understanding is how that entire process works. And he's trying to get inside Cheever's mind that, okay, why did he dissect the heart the way he did? And then he becomes one of the most prolific fiction writer. He goes into the mind of Ethan Cannon, and who had 4 Hollywood stories. Now, what's interesting about this entire story is how you and I can start understanding why the person did what he did. Try and get into his mind and take what you need. Shivani, please continue.
Yeah. It's interesting because you learn things. Cannon explained. Something simple about Cheever is that his paragraphs are much longer than yours would have been. His sentences are longer. He pushes everything further than I would have pushed them. From that pushing further, Cannon learned to be more extreme in his writing. He learned from Cheever's technique. Then he learned from Cheever's mind.
I think
How he
Shivani's connection is fading or
thought
something.
about things. Imagine no, is it okay? I hope.
We couldn't hear the last sentence at all.
Okay. Uh, he pushes everything further than I would have pushed them. From that pushing further, Cannon learned to be more extreme in his writing. He learned from Cheever's technique. Then he learned from Cheever's mind.
Sorry, Shivani, you have a connection
He
problem.
learned
No, it's all blurry. The voice is fading. So,
Cheever
Shivani, you can
phrase.
unmute yourself. No, Shivani, we can't hear you. Let me take it from here. So, he learned from Cheever's techniques, that then he learned from Cheever's mind how he thought about things. Cannon failed to emulate him accurately, though. Humans are not photocopy machines. Where he failed to copy Cheever accurately was where he began to be original. That's where he was different. It was his difference he magnified. You can borrow flour, but you have to bake your own bread. And this is a beautiful line. This is a beautiful thing that you can get inspired from people, but don't copy them fully. Where's your originality? Where's your creativity? Copying as an exercise is not the same as plagiarism. Plagiarism would be if you signed a painting someone else has done, or some other, or otherwise pretended you did someone else's great work. Everyone has influences. The best part is any author, any director, anybody, if they're not inspired by somebody else, if they're not influenced by somebody else, they can't create what they create. So that's okay to get inspired. But to copy it as it is and go for plagiarism is a huge crime. You can't use somebody else's work and put your name on it by saying, this is my work. But you can get inspired from his or her work, add your 4 bits in it, change it a bit, and just say, yeah, thank you. And in that, always mention, acknowledged, or inspired by so and so person. Always acknowledge the person because you have been inspired by him or her. The reason that great artists cluster together geographically is so that they can learn from each other. Sangha kya hota hai? Why do people come together for conferences or for exhibitions or showcasing their stuff? Because they're learning from each other. They're coming together to share ideas, minds. They're coming to celebrate. They're coming together. I remember Jack's Lipsis says, I remember one day when Joanne Gris told me about a bunch of grapes he had seen in a painting by Picasso. The very next day, these grapes appeared in a painting by Gris, this time in a bowl. And the day after, the bowl appeared in a painting by Picasso. So many people have the urge to create, but nothing to say. They have no ideas, and even if they did, they won't know how to express them. So to get the ball rolling, they copy other people's creative ideas as is. Why not? It's a starting point. Copying is a misunderstood phenomena by people who are not creative. A lot of our behavior comes from observing and emulating others, not least fundamental abilities like walking and talking. Later, we practice what the psychologist Albert Bandura referred to us as modeling. We are more likely to smoke if our friends smoke, more likely to overeat if our friends overeat. You become those you imitate. So carefully choose which creative thinkers you emulate. So that's what they say now. You become like the person who you are looking at. Unknowingly, unconsciously, subconsciously, आपको कुछ घर में नहीं पसंद आ रहा है about your parents or somebody, you pick up that trait easiest because you don't like it. So आपका expansion हो रहा है वहां पर. So rather than just say, I want to be, so whenever you see a person, I want to be say even tempered. I want to be healthy. And this is who I am. So see your company, what you're resonating in. See yourself, are you growing in life? One of the greatest secrets to being creative is to analyze and gain an understanding of the genius of works, then rework it with your own purposes. Rembrandt was an apprentice, but he went on to produce many original paintings. He learned from the masters, but then his unique vision emerged. When you see a piece of work you admire, dissect it scientifically and discover exactly what makes it so great. Is it the style, the concept, the creator's personality? You need to unashamedly take ideas and techniques from anywhere. So, we are anyway super creative. If we draw inspiration from somebody, someplace, write it down, analyze it. Don't let the inspiration just go away like in a whiff. So chances are that you're inspired and you will resonate with them when you write them down. And again, I say using these three first fingers, because here is where yourself, your intellect, and your connection with God is all coming together, and you're writing them down. When you write them down, you can take them in a journey which is beautiful. So be inspired, take what you want from them, don't take the entire package, learn the best. And that's what this is all about. Yes, you can borrow the flour, but you still have to bake your own cake. And then you can give credit to the flour, and you can still do that. So it's very important for us to learn. Stephen Johnson says, chance favors a connected mind. So the connection has to be something that you're observing. So thank you, Rahul sir. Time for a heart thought. And Shivani, because your voice is fading, I'll request Akshay to read it, and then he can record the meditation as well. Yes, it's a wonderful line. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's very nice for us to be inspired by people and the actions. But ultimately, the adaptation has to be ours. If you don't want to resort to a complete copy and be called a fake, you've got to be original in life. That's the most important line. That's the most important part of your being. All right, let's see the wonderful prosperity. How wonderful. So today's heart thought is I constantly receive incredible gifts. Isn't that what we actually learned in this last immediate chapter? That we are seeing people, we are seeing things, and we're dissecting them, and we're taking what we want from them. It depends upon us. So if I constantly receive incredible gifts, so it is. I can give you lots of good advice and lots of wonderful new ideas, but you are in control. You can accept them or not. You have the power. So ultimately, we choose. Ideas आएंगे, advice आएगी. सुनो सबकी करो अपनी. We've heard that, right? Because that is the मूल mantra of life. Listen to everyone's wisdom without saying, यार क्यों ये प्रवचन दे रहे हैं? Yeah, you never know कब क्या आ जाए. Because you are constantly receiving incredible gifts. Yes, thank you, Akshay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Learn to accept prosperity instead of exchanging it. If a friend gives you a gift or takes you to lunch, you don't have to immediately reciprocate. Allow the person to give you the gift. Accept it with joy and pleasure. You may never reciprocate to that person. You may give to someone else. If someone gives you a gift that you can't use or don't want, say, I accept with joy and pleasure and gratitude, and pass it on to someone else.
So such a beautiful right? लोग हमें को देते हैं अरे अब मेरी बारी अरे we'll go Dutch. कोई बोल रहा है कि नहीं I want to do it. Okay, take it, enjoy it, because you're receiving and you're allowing yourself to receive rather than closing yourself. And this gift, whatever you receive, you can pass on to the others. It doesn't have to be the same person. So accept with joy and pleasure and gratitude. How wonderful. All right. Is there anything special that you want to meditate on? If yes, you can write them down. Otherwise, whatever comes, we'll meditate on that. But if there's substance, that's great. Otherwise, generic. All right. So let's close our eyes. Our back straight. Our feet firmly placed on ground below. Our hands in a comfortable, open, receptive mode. Kept very comfortably on our laps. A soft smile on your faces with the eyes softly closed. Let's take a deep breath in and observe the breathing and let it fill your body. Ever so gently exhale it. Inhale. Observe the inhalation, the breathing, the breath. And gently exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Life is beautiful. Life is a giver. Life is a new journey of evolving and discovering our new gifts every single day. Let us all evolve. Let us all be inspired by whatever life is teaching us. Let's always note that whatever good happens in our life is a gift to us for all the good we've done. And whatever bad happens to us is because we have to learn a lesson that we still haven't learned. So whenever emotional crisis comes, let's go deep within us. Let's get centered, balanced, aligned, and ask ourselves the most important question. Dearest higher self, I know this person has said this to me or done this to me. I am feeling bad about it. I accept it. But what is it that I had to learn out of this? Guide me. I do not want to play the victim. I don't want to blame anyone, because by now I'm aware that everything that happens in my life is because of my own calling. So what is it that I need to learn? And whenever some information is downloaded, thank the giver, the higher self. Thank your brain for understanding, construing. Thank your heart for feeling emotion that it feels. And always remember, these powerful downloads are to be penned and written down. It makes us into who we are. We all can journal our journey of our life. This challenge came and this answer was downloaded. And this is what I understood and did out of it. Very gradually, we'll start realizing that the patterns that we're repeating are stopping to repeat because we are learning our lessons every single day with compassion, with understanding, and with the proper inner tuning. Knowing that life happens to us for a reason. We've come here together to learn, to grow, to evolve. And the deeper we go within us, the more wonderful answers we will get out from ourselves. Let's understand that I am the creative thinker. I am the person who's choosing. I am the person who's letting go, because this is my journey. I am the one who's empowered. I'm the one who's enlivened. I'm the one who's enlightened. So why am I becoming dependent on other people? It's wonderful to be independent. It's wonderful to be emotionally sound. It's wonderful to be inspired, but it's most important to implement our learnings. Whatever we learn from whoever we learn, very important for each one of us to take those learnings and implement them in our life to get much better results. Because the more we share, the more we care. It's very imperative that we tune into ourselves to realize the $1 million powerful facts that are coming to us. Our ideas are like a gold in a diamond mine. Let's write them down. Let's know each idea is worthy. Nothing is worthless. Each idea, if it inspires us, motivates us, needs the courage, needs the hope, needs the freedom to choose and to implement and to do it and take it off. Knowing it's okay to fail. At least we tried. Let's live a life of zero compromise. If your heart says it, just do it. It's all right to be not okay. It's all right to falter. but it's not all right to compromise. We are here in our journey as the best beings available. But after so much of karmic count, we have got the body of a human. This body of human has been gifted the very beautiful intellect, which very few species get. So if we have got a human body and the intellect, why not use it to our maximum? Why not spend every day as if it's worth? Why not spend the life the way you look back and say, wow, it's a beautiful life? Why have regret? Why have remorse? And if we have had that, it's okay to accept that that's how I was. Let's evolve and let's channel our energy for our betterment. And let's always remember that the more we do for the others, the more we get it back from others in our life. It's a circle of service, a circle of love. The more we give, the more we get. Let's serve unconditionally, not thinking too much about our gifts, not thinking about what can I get out of this. Let's know that right now, Mr. A may have helped me, but I can help Mr. B. It doesn't have to be given exchange from every single person. But yes, what we give and take is blessings, counting our blessings, looking at the bright side when life gives us any challenging situation, how beautifully we can emerge out of it depends upon us. Let's grow. Let us just take a promise within us to try and never get deviated from a rightful path. Let's ask our higher selves the reason why we have taken this human body. And apart from physical pleasures, apart from materialistic goals, let's go spiritually deeper and evolve as much as possible. That's the least we can give to our higher self, and by not wasting this precious gift of life. Let's literally sharpen our skills and wait for the magic to begin by implementing and taking away all our learnings, step by step, one by one, no matter how small, just being on the path. Let's know that everyone in life comes for a reason. If there's anybody saying something to us which is not very conducive for our growth, that's what is our thinking. But let's also know that everyone is playing a role, and may this role define us into who we are. With more love, with more light, with more guidance, let's acknowledge the divine intelligence that guides us. Let's look up and thank the divine intelligence. Let's know that we're always divinely guided. Let's acknowledge the guidance and not just let it wither away. Now let's bow down to Mother Earth. Thank her for establishing us as rooted human beings, grounded, humble, conscious of people, aware of their growth, being a contributor, being somebody who contributes to not only themselves, but society as well. And dear Mother Earth, please make me a channel of love and light. Being a sentient person, I appreciate my journey, but I wish that I can help you in your sentiency, Mother Earth. May you ascend, may you really go in the next dimension, take us all with you. So a big shout of thanks to you for whatever you've done for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's thank our wonderful life lessons, experiences that have come, are coming, and will come. Let's be present to each one of them, knowing that we have the power to choose. Let's be grateful and kind-hearted in evolving, in developing ourselves into better versions of ourselves, knowing that we are the master creator of our life. We're the producer, director, actor in our movie. And let this movie be a worthy movie when we reflect back and see it. Let's create memories, let's create experiences, let's never compromise. Because life is just a beautiful gift. And we have to let's just live simply, adequately, and abundantly. Let's look up at the universe, open our hands, and thank all the cosmic energy for showering the choicest blessings on us. So all the divinities, the divine powers, the divine beings, we thank you for coming together to bless us every single day. We're learning, we're growing because we know we're here for a purpose. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's fold our hands and be grateful for everything, anything, anyone, anywhere. Let's rub our hands together. Bless our face, entire body, front, top to bottom, our feet, touch your soles, and pull back your roots into yourself. Touch your backside of your body. Just know that we are all rooted, grounded, and yet we are whole and complete. We are not fixed. We have let go. Whenever we feel the need to anchor ourselves, balance ourselves, align ourselves, we can do that. But right now, we are whole and complete with all the roots back in us. The more we grow deeper within Mother Earth, the more we're going deeper within ourselves. Let us all evolve and take a flight, a leap of love, happiness, freedom. Let's be kindful, grateful, hopeful. Let's fold our hands together and thank our entire body, all the organs, all the movement, the energy. And let's set and share this energy with our Sangha, with all sentient beings. Let there be lots of love, light, abundance, healing, blessings, and wishful thinking and hope prevalent with each one of us. Ruchi, Pratima ji, Akshay, Vijay ji, Manish, Peena ji, Anita, Mitu, Shivani, Jitendra ji, Kamakshi, Usha ji, Manisha, Richa, Bharat, Ruchi, Ritu, Meenakshi Arya, Ankur, Rahul sir, Amrita ma'am, and to all the virtual participants and all sentient beings, lots of love and light. Does anybody wish to ask any questions? So Meenakshi, I hope I've answered your question when you've asked something. If not, please feel free to, yeah, Akshay, please share.
I just wanted to know, what should I name this meditation today?
Choosing life.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Kamakshi, please unmute yourself. Yes, please.
Good morning, Prachi.
Good morning.
I just want to share two things. The meditation says now, like we keep on saying that the more you give, the more you receive, and it's becoming true. I used to donate blood, and my HB was low, like 9. So there was a lot of refusal. But since the past 1 year, ever since I'm donating, my HB has increased. Hemoglobin, that is, hemoglobin has increased to 11.5. So I was wondering, yesterday only, that it is the power that more you give, the more you get, and without taking all the multinutrients and everything. And the second thing was, yesterday I met a man. He came to our hospital. He was 20 years old, and he came from Bristol to. He was going from Bristol to. He's a person from UK. Came from Bristol to going to Beijing, and through that he was taking a route from India. And he had a cancer of liver, sarcoma, rare cancer, sarcoma. He was cycling all throughout. And that was just an amazing experience, because he went to our pediatrics ward and he met all the kids who were suffering from cancer. And the kids were filled with the joy, because his words were, because I don't know what life has for you, but I can just tell you that you have to choose to live. And I chose that. And whole lines now, when I just wrote those lines, that it is our choice. And meditation also says that we have a choice to live. We have the choice to be happy. So
beautiful.
I'll share that photograph in the group. It was just wonderful.
I mean, I'm very inspired by this gentleman. How lovely. Young, just 20, so vivacious to go cycling around the world with a cancer in his body, not caring for the cancer. How amazing. In fact, if you have his number, share the definition of cancer, which I had coined. Celebrate and now count each realm. That's what he's truly living up. Okay. So more power to him, and more power to you, Kamakshi, for sharing and discovering these joys and magics in your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. More power to you all. So because this was through this, I can correlate that I'm getting these things. So thanks a lot.
So life has become easier for everyone. Businesses have become better. Your relationships have become better. Are you evolving every single day? That's the journey. So if that's happening, at least we've reached somewhere. Have you transformed as a person? By now, we are in the last divine month. So if that your journey, so I hear an answer. Great. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Nice. Thank you, Vimakshi. Thank you, Akshay. It's nice for us to grow when we implement what we are learning. Jitendra, you have been very regular, and me too. Thank you, Anita, Richa. I'm glad that you're finding the changes. It's definitely about our choice. This book, Refuse to Choose, is also about that. Why we refuse to choose, why we compromise, why we don't give ourselves the opportunity to rise and shine. When we give to ourselves a lot of love, we are going to become the channels of love automatically. But when we feel the need for love, we will be so much more deprived, right? So please live wholeheartedly. Yeah, the paradigm has shifted. Very nice, Richa. I'm so wonderful. Very nice. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your bright smiles and your beautiful sharings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see each other tomorrow on the wonderful Wednesday at 5 a.m. Lots of love and light. Take care. Be blessed.